The Maharashtra government will be giving a reply in the State Assembly over the building collapse tragedy in Thane that has claimed 41 lives and counting. The fear is that the death figures could rise, with nearly 25 people still believed to be trapped in the debris. Is there no one to blame for 41 deaths? If there was no objection certificate, how did a 7-story building come up? Are builders being made scapegoats to save bigger guns? Aren't token visits by concerned politicians, including the Chief Minister himself, mere lip service? And finally, why does it take a tragedy to promise action? Why is the Indian system so reactive? Why can it not make sure that buildings of this kind do not ever come up? Tragedy struck at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday evening when an under construction 7-story building collapsed. A case of culpable homicide has been registered against 2 builders, the contractor and supervisor of this building, all of whom have gone underground and are absconding. Rescue work that has been on since this incident continues as we speak. Rescue officials say that they will work till the last person is safely brought out alive. But for our netas, it seems to be just another photo opportunity. Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan visited the spot after the incident earlier today. Meanwhile, civic authorities, predictably enough, are busy passing the buck on who is responsible for 41 deaths, including at least 11 children.
Generally, whenever a rescue team moves, they don't carry the dozers with us. So the dozers are available, that physically, manually we are taking care, we are guiding them how to remove the dozer, the rubbles. So the injured should be safe at the time. Simultaneously removing the debris as well as saving the individuals are important. That we are taking care.
वो इमारत थी, वो प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट लैंड में थी. इसके लिए हमने जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट को 2 बार लेटर भी दिया था कि उस इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन पर इमीडिएटली कार्रवाई करें. नहीं, हम लोगों ने पानी उनको उस बिल्डिंग को नहीं दिया था, लेकिन वेयरएज दिस इलेक्ट्रिक सप्लाईज कंसर्न हम लोगों ने जो एग्जीक्यूटिव इंजीनियर है एमएसएबी के, उनको भी लेटर दिया था कि ऐसे इलीगल बिल्डिंग को विद्युत कनेक्शन मत दे.
जिसने बिल्डिंग बनाई है उसके खिलाफ हमने 304 का मुकदमा दाखिल किया है और हम उनको ढूंढ रहे हैं और निश्चित रूप से जल्दी उनको अरेस्ट करेंगे. उनका कुरैशी और सलीम 2 नाम है और भी उनके पार्टनर हैं. जो भी हो, इन्वेस्टिगेशन हम कर रहे हैं.
At Shield Tiger Police Station, the offence has been registered under Section 304 culpable homicide against 2 persons, and the possibility is that there may be involvement of some another few persons. We are looking for that. Since yesterday, so many officers and even senior officers and few policemen and paramilitary force have been deployed here. So there is no issue of law and order. All the area has been cordoned off here.
नहीं, ये बात गंभीर है. इतने लोगों की अगर जान गई है तो इस पर पुलिस की जांच होनी चाहिए और जो भी उसके लिए जिम्मेदार है उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए. और ये बात सही है कि जो बिल्डर लॉबी है उस पर नियंत्रण होना चाहिए, जो कि वो अपने फायदे के लिए लोगों के जान की सुरक्षा का भी ध्यान नहीं रखते हैं. तो मैं समझता हूं कि मुख्यमंत्री और जो मुख्यमंत्री जी जा रहे हैं वहां उस तमाम चीज़ों का जायजा लेने के लिए, उसके बाद वो कार्रवाई करेंगे.
हादसे के बारे में क्या कहेंगे, कितना ये गंभीर हादसा?
हादसा तो बहुत गंभीर है, नो डाउट अबाउट इट. लेकिन ऐसे भविष्य काल में अगर इन हादसों से बचना है तो मेरे ख्याल से प्रशासन को कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई इसके आगे करनी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि बुमरा और इस एरिया में इतने सारे अनऑथराइज बिल्डिंग्स हो गए हैं कि अगर हर एक धोखा अगर धोखे से टलना ही है तो इसके ऊपर बहुत गंभीरता से कार्रवाई करनी पड़ेगी. मैं अभी हाउस में ही जा रहा हूँ. मैं भी सीएम साहब को ये अवगत करा देता हूँ कि यहाँ पे क्या करना चाहिए और क्या नहीं, और सरकार डेफिनेटली इसका सहानुभूतिपूर्वक विचार करेगी.
Maruk Inayat, editor-at-large of Headlines Today, is with me live from the location in Thane where that building came down at 6:30 p.m. yesterday. Maruk, I'd like to begin by getting a quick update from you on the situation. 41 people dead so far. Behind you, the rescue and relief operation still continues right now. Isn't that right, Maruk?
That's right, Shiv. Let me just update you and the viewers. The number has now been given as 45 confirmed deaths. This was given to us by the NDRF chief who's overseeing the rescue operations. So it's 45 dead, 59 injured at this point. Let me just show you, we're about a few feet away, barely a few feet away from the rescue operations. We have an aerial view slightly at a higher location that we are, and you can clearly see what's happening here. The rescue operators trying to find at least 25 persons who are still unaccounted for. That's what the NDRF chief also told us. He's being very optimistic at this point, saying that this is what is called a sandwich collapse. So clearly the building just came down in a matter of seconds, a 7-story building, and there were about 125 people at the time the collapse happened. Now, a couple of stories that are happening. One is, of course, the heart-wrenching story of the people who've lost their lives, the relatives who are all around. Second is the story that you've been talking about, is that of the blame game.
Yes.
Constant stream of politicians and agency authorities that we've seen come here, make their sound bites, blame the other person. The third is, of course, the locals that you see all around here. They've been here camping since morning. Many of them have been helping in the rescue operations, but perhaps some of them, as they stand here, since documents accessed by Headlines Today have clearly shown that there are at least 116 buildings
yes.
in this ward itself, which are illegal constructions. So perhaps many of them might be thinking of the kind of unfortunate incident that has happened and the illegal constructions that happen in the area, because there are far too many ticking bombs in this area, Shiv, and that clearly makes the blood boil of many, not just the media, but also many who see the activists who've been constantly talking about this builder-babu nexus. But this is the tragedy that it finally comes down to. And the smell of
yes.
death that you feel in this area. Yeah, go ahead.
That's,
go ahead,
you know, one of the things you just pointed out, Maruk, I wanted to just pick up on that a little bit more about activists actually red flagging this building, you know, filing complaints with the municipal corporation, with the police, you know, saying that this is a building that's, you know, coming up alarmingly fast. There's something, you know, something amiss, something suspicious about the manner in which this building is coming up. And not once did the authorities actually respond to it. That's the scary part.
Absolutely. Now look at the fact, Shiv. I mean, first of all, this building remarkably came up in 4 months flat. A 7-story building with the 8th story being constructed, done in 4 months. It didn't have an NOC. It had electricity, which the residents were taking illegally from the nearby buildings. It was on Adivasi land. So the forest department has pretty much washed its hand of the whole thing. The mayor of the area has nothing to say. The municipal department says, oh well, we had issued a warning to them. The electricity department says, oh well, we had complained about them. I mean, so nobody, neither the politicians nor the agencies want to take any responsibility. The fact is, this is right bang very close to the main road. It's an area called Lucky Compound. There are other buildings in the area, so it wasn't like in an isolated spot that nobody would have been able to see a 7-story building come up. There were 63 flats in this building. So honestly, I mean, it just goes on and on. The list of questions that you can ask, the kind of discrepancy in the entire paperwork that you see, and the questions that we need to ask of every department is just never ending. Shiv?
And Maruk, you know, the photo ops continue obviously, because as the National Disaster Relief Force, you know, continues with its work, and there's been some criticism over there as well. We've seen a steady stream of politicians come there, you know, to have a look. It's a jarring contrast, and it's only a reminder of how spread out the culpability for such a tragedy really is. It's not just about the builder, it's about the forest department, it's about the TMC, it's about, you know, perhaps 15 to 20 different departments, if I could hazard a guess, including the urban development department, which is with the chief minister himself, and he was there as well.
That's right. There are many in this area who feel, and this is a local sentiment, that this area has been neglected, which is perhaps one of the reasons why illegal constructions have been able to come up. But like you mentioned, politicians always trying to grab any attention that they can get from the media. And we've seen this happen several times over. I mean, we've asked each one of them very pertinent questions, simple questions really, honestly, Shiv, of where were you when this building was coming up? Why is it that you're coming now? Because obviously the cameras are here and the media focus is on this, that you're coming up and making excuses and more ridiculously so, blaming the other department. None of the authorization that is required for a building of such, of a multi-story building to come up has been in place. The builders till last evening were in their office, which is on the ground floor of this building.
Yeah.
So it's not that it was being done completely with anybody's. It's clearly pointing to a nexus where the babus turn the other way. The builders obviously are making their money and the powerful connections that they have with the politicians. Because it couldn't have been done without all of these individuals or departments being in connivance. Shiv?
Well, that's the whole thing. This nexus is virtually unbreakable, isn't it? That's the fact of it. This is not the first time, by far not the first time that a building is collapsing, even in the Mumbai-Thane area, and yet nothing ever happens. Buildings of this kind simply spring up. 4 months flat, 7 stories, as Maruk was just reporting. Maruk, just stay with me for a moment. I want to take our viewers through the details that we've been able to access from RTI, right to information documents that show that Mumbai's Thane area is a death trap. This is a building that's only representative of just how dangerous things are in that area. Several more such tragedies may just be waiting to unfold here, and may I just say, they will happen if the government doesn't step in right now. These documents reveal that hundreds more of such illegal constructions are going on at a furious pace in the area, and no one is bothered to act or stop them at this time. Documents accessed by Headlines Today reveal some very disturbing figures. The builder mafia Babu nexus is being allowed a free run in the area with callous disregard for human life. Take a look at the figures. We're not just talking about text. Look at the figures. A total of 829 such illegal, unauthorized RCC buildings are being constructed in Thane alone. Action has been taken in less than 50% of these cases. What is worrying, most of these buildings are coming up in the Mumbai area, where one such illegal structure collapsed last evening. That's the structure outside which Maruk Inayat is standing with me live, and where 45 people at last count have been confirmed to be killed. Maruk, you know, the procedure for culpability is a complicated one. The police is on the hunt for several people. They're looking for the builders. 2 people who have apparently gone underground are being hunted right now. But considering just how intricate and virtually unshakable this nexus is proving to be, and has been over the last few years, and considering that there are so many more buildings that are probably being constructed even as we speak, maybe not very far from even where you're standing, it's going to be a really, really difficult task, pinning blame, especially with the big fish, isn't it, Maruk?
Absolutely, Shiv. And one of the biggest concerns is that what has been seen in the past, when illegal constructions or constructions which have been made with poor construction material have collapsed, the blame has always been put on various agencies, but it's the small fry that always get caught. It's the small fry that divert the attention from the big fish, as they always say.
Yeah.
Where are the main politicians, the main agencies, the heads of departments who should be held responsible? Because in this case, we are talking about 2 builders, 2 small-time builders,
yes,
who built this particular construction by the name of Salim Sheikh and Jamil Qureshi.
Yes.
There's a hunt on for the 2 of them. But what happens to the others who are involved and have a stake in this entire pie? Like you just mentioned, the documents that Headlines Today has accessed, they're close to 900 buildings in this area alone. That's not being done by 1 or 2 builders. It's clearly a large number of people. And the way this paperwork is done, which we've seen in the past and investigated at Headlines Today, is that the paperwork is so voluminous and there are so many loopholes in the system.
Indeed.
That the big fish, honestly, very unfortunately, always get away.
Well, this is a tragedy that has held the entire nation. 45 people are dead, and as we speak, as Maruk and I bring you this story, there are more people who are still trapped in the debris, and behind Maruk, as you can see in those pictures, rescue and relief work continues even now. There's a possibility, and we hope not, but that number could actually go up. Our focus remains on the Thane tragedy, in which 45 people have been confirmed dead in that building collapse tragedy. The Maharashtra government will be giving a reply in the State Assembly on that tragedy in Thane that has claimed 45 lives so far. The fear is that the death figure could rise, with nearly 25 people still believed to be trapped under the debris.
Generally, whenever a rescue team moves, they don't carry the dozers with us. So the dozers are available, that physically, manually we are taking care, we are guiding them how to remove the rubbles. So the injured should be safe at the time. Simultaneously removing the debris as well as saving the individuals are important. That we are taking care.
वो इमारत थी वो प्रोटेक्टेड फॉरेस्ट लैंड में थी। इसके लिए हमने जो फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट को 2 बार लेटर भी दिया था कि उस इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन पर इमीडिएटली कार्रवाई करें। नहीं, हम लोगों ने पानी उनको उस बिल्डिंग को नहीं दिया था, लेकिन वेयर एज दिस इलेक्ट्रिक सप्लाईज कंसर्न हम लोगों ने जो एग्जीक्यूटिव इंजीनियर है एमएससीबी के उनको भी लेटर दिया था कि ऐसे इलीगल बिल्डिंग को विद्युत कनेक्शन मत दे।
जिसने बिल्डिंग बनाई है उसके खिलाफ हमने 304 का मुकदमा दाखिल किया है और हम उनको ढूंढ रहे हैं और जल्दी से जल्दी उनको अरेस्ट भी करेंगे। उनका कुरैशी और सलीम 2 नाम है और भी उनके पार्टनर हैं, जो भी हो, इन्वेस्टिगेशन हम कर रहे हैं।
I want to go across to Maruk Inayat, editor at large. She's live with me, just meters outside the building that collapsed, killing 45 people. There are 25 people who are still believed to be trapped inside. Maruk, if you could just describe to us, you've no doubt been in touch with the rescue personnel there and the people who are supervising the rescue. They believe that there could be 25 people still inside the debris as we speak.
That's right, Shiv. I've just spoken to the chief of the NDRF, Mr. Alok Avasthi, who's the person overseeing the entire rescue operations. Now, what he indicated was that from the estimates that they have got, that at the time of the collapse, and this is what they call a sandwich collapse, which means that from the top it comes crashing down. So there are 2 possibilities that come out of that. One, that the people who are on the ground floor have a higher chance of survival. Secondly, the estimates that they got were that there were 125 people inside. At this point, the death toll stands at 45. The number of casualties are at 59. So there's still about roughly 20 to 25 persons that are unaccounted for. We've been talking to a lot of people here, and the locals that you see standing all around, if my camera person were to pan across, these are a large number of relatives, neighbors, and I've been speaking to many of them, and what they are indicating is that they've been getting, and this is really heart-wrenching even when I say it,
yes,
they've been getting calls from inside. Now, we don't know whether those calls and the people who are making those calls are still alive. We're still hoping that. Many of them standing here with their fingers crossed, prayers, and from what we got a sense from the NDRF chief, he said that he's going to work till the last person is accounted for. We're hoping that those 25 people do not come out as fatalities, and we're able to, the rescue operators at least are able to bring those people out. But from the indications that have come in the past 2 hours at least, when we've been seeing bodies come out, the state really is there's no better word to describe it, but quite gory at this point, really, of the bodies that have been brought out, which is perhaps leading to the kind of despair that we've seen amongst many of the relatives, Shiv.
I can imagine what it's like being there when all those bodies are coming out, Maruk, but is there a sense of just how long it's going to take, this operation, given the scope of work that lies ahead of the NDRF officials and the personnel actually laboring away, trying to move away all that rubble, metal and all that mutilated stuff that's there? Do they have a sense of how long it's going to take?
Well, this is the answer that the NDF chief gave me when I spoke with him a short while back. He said it could take 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, even up to 10 days. The reason why he said that was he is indicating that they are going to wait till the last body is accounted for. And he gave the example of an earlier construction collapse that he had been involved with. But he's saying at this point, and he has been indicating that at this point they're more worried about accounting for the number of people that are inside,
yes,
and they are going to wait for as long as it takes. But in the meantime, let's just show you exactly how this collapse happened.
Well, let's just tell you how this particular building was allowed to turn into a death trap for so many people. 41 people at last count, but that number could rise. There were no clearances, for starters, to actually build this structure. So this building actually had no business actually being there, and yet it was allowed construction. It was built on forest land without any no objection certificates. There were no documents involved at all. And to top it all, the builders actually used substandard material, and occupancy was allowed even before the building was actually completed, which means there was no structural engineer, no architect, no professionals to actually judge whether this was a safe building to actually be occupied. And all the while, local police actually chose to look away. There's no business that this building had to be complete, but yet everybody just looked away. A complaint against the structure by a local activist in that area was disregarded not once but 3 times. The electricity department red flagged the illegal connection, but that too was ignored. So what you have now is collusion between the builders, the municipal corporation, the urban development department of the Maharashtra government, and several people in between who are part of a big nexus. Remember, this is only one building in which so many people have died. There are at least, at last count, 1,000 more buildings of this kind, many of them in the very area where 41 people were killed.
And that is how a 7-story illegal construction came crashing down in a matter of a number of seconds. And what you can see behind me are the rescue operations that still continue. There is still hope in every heart of the relative that is standing here that perhaps those 25 unaccounted persons as of now are brought out alive from under this mangled remain and debris of steel and concrete. Clearly, a large number of issues and questions need to be answered. It was a 7-story building with no NOC. It was a 7-story building with no electricity warrant given to them or any kind of clearance from the electricity department. It was a building that had come up in a record number of 4 months. And despite all of these questions that are being raised now, the tragedy is still unfolding. These are questions that will have to be answered, and perhaps for once, it should not be the small fish, and rather the small fry, but the big fish that should come under the scanner and face what they should for the tragedy that you see unfolding before your eyes.
Well, Maruk, this is a story that we're going to track very, very closely here on Headlines today. The rescue operations continue. Maruk is going to be at the site, and she's going to continue to bring us ground reports of this unfolding tragedy. And it is an unfolding tragedy because 45 people have been killed, but there are still 25 people trapped inside that debris in Thane.